Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So the video that I promised you guys, it's coming, I swear. Yeah, last night, I don't know when I'm posting this, but on Wednesday afternoon, I saw Spider-Man Brand New Day for a second time. Just to give you guys a quick overall thoughts of what I thought of it watching it a second time before I get into spoilers, because this is a spoiler review. So, I really liked it. I still think it's a 9 out of 10. I was still wowed by the movie. The twists and turns I saw coming, because obviously I've already seen it, so that wasn't surprising me at all. Some of the twists and turns more got me because of the things being said, as opposed to the, like, I mean, we're talking about spoilers. I have notes written down, but this is probably not going to be a very long video, but, like the whole bit that I talked about, oh no, I have it in here, but we'll talk about the rooftop scene in a minute between, Spider-Man and MJ, but that scene got me more because of the whole, like, hugging bit and the, keep hugging her, Peter. You deserve it. Like, that type of thing. That got me more than the first time. The first time when she said that, I was like, God, Jesus! Like, because I knew exactly who it was, but, like, I think just more the way that Tom Holland, like, went from being happy to pure rage just got me more, and I was like, oh my God. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But I still think it's very, very great. I think that this movie is going to age very well, and we're going to look back on it, like, obviously I really like I love the Home trilogy, but we'll talk about this when we get to my Spider-Man rankings, but the only one that I'll put over is Brand New Day, I mean, not Brand New Day, No Way Home, and we'll kind of talk about why, later, but I think that this movie, we're going to look at going like, this is the best street level Spider-Man that we've gone since Spider-Man 2. Like Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, and Brand New Day. I think those are the main three in terms of street level that's clearly the best. And then the other stuff, it's like, yeah, it's street level, but like, it's not even in New York and things like that. So, but yeah, no, I'm very excited to talk spoilers now. So, let's get into it. So, the first thing I want to talk about, we're mainly going to be talking about different things with the characters and what I expected and things like that. And there are some scenes I have in here, but it's not going to be a crazy amount. So the first thing I want to talk about is Hulk. Hulk was amazing in this movie, but I will say, Hulk, I was kind of disappointed in terms of how they used him. I thought what was going to happen, to be honest, was Spider-Man and Punisher were going to team up to take down Hulk because Jean Grey was controlling him. And that's what happened, but I'm not gonna lie, but I thought that Hulk was gonna be Jean's endgame plan. Like, I thought that, like, if she didn't get what she wanted, she would use Hulk as her, final plan of going like, alright, I'm going to mess with the Hulk now. There's no way you can stop him. I thought that was gonna be the final battle, was my thing. I'm kind of jumping all over the place, so just letting you guys know. So if you go like, oh, you're talking about Hulk, no, you're talking about this thing and they're not connected, it's like, I'm just going off what's the top of my head and what I have written on the page, okay? So, but yeah, no, I thought that that was going to be more of an end fight, where it's like, okay, Jean couldn't find the VMAX. So because no one told her what the VMAX is, she's going to go after Hulk and control the Hulk to do collateral damage. Because I think, to me, that would be a way better final battle, even though Dale likes the final battle. Like, because the final battle isn't really a final battle. Like, we get the stuff with the hand, which is a great fight. I love that fight. That's all over the trailers. But the actual emotional bit, like the actual finale, that's where I was like, like, come on. Like, that's, like, I didn't mind it I didn't mind it. I mean, I didn't like it in Brave New World, but I am starting to feel a little bit fatigued in terms of, okay, this is, we do the whole talking down to the villain in Brave New World, we do it in Thunderbolts, and we don't really do it in Fantastic Four, but we felt, like, say, oh, okay, in Thunderbolts we bloody being with the power of friendship thing, with Brave New World, this. So that was kind of like, really, but the villains in this movie were just was just a guy in a suit and Jean. Even though that Jean was more like even though that Jean was great, I thought that Jean was absolutely amazing. But I will say this. One of my big concerns when it comes to Spider-Man movies, and this is everyone's concern, is that they cram too many characters into one movie. Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2, No Way Home actually did it very well because you're actually, their character development was already in previous movies and they just continue it on into No Way Home. So No Way Home actually made it work. So it was actually really good in No Way Home, but like, even though they were like Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3, they did not juggle them well. Which No Way Home did. This kind of does. This does better than Spider-Man 3 and TASM 2, but doesn't do it as well as No Way Home. Because like you have the whole like Jean stuff, you have the Punisher stuff, you have Hulk, you have Spider-Man of course, and then you have Ned and MJ, and then you have like the damage control, you have the Hands, which like are more crooks in this just to fight. But you have a lot of characters, which is great. It's fun, but it does feel a little cramped. But it doesn't feel as cramped as TASM 2 and Spider-Man 3. But I thought that they handled it well. But that was one of my big concerns, because this movie is Spider-Man and Peter Parker when the whole world has forgotten who he is kind of crazy. So then you have the whole thing of, we need to set up mutants, and then that's where the Jean Grey comes into the movie, which I thought was very great. Now, Jean, so I love Sadie as Jean. I thought she was absolutely amazing in this movie. I honestly think that I'm excited to see more of her in the MCU going forward into the Mutant Saga after Secret Wars and stuff. But the sister storyline, I don't know if that's a comic storyline or what. Because you gotta remember, my experience with Jean is the X-Men movies and X-Men 97. And there is no mention in those franchises about her having a sister. So, I'm kind of curious if that's a comic storyline or what, because like it just felt kind of strange to me where like it's part of her motivations, but when you see that scene it kind of comes to a halt and it's like, okay, this is not a Spider-Man movie anymore, this is a Jean Grey movie, which I thought was great, but I would want to see that in a Jean Grey movie, not a Spider-Man movie. Even though that I thought that was great for her motivations and we understand why she's doing what she's doing and things like that. That was kind of weird to me. At least like that part of the not necessarily her motivations were weird to me, but the fact that she even had a sister and that has not been mentioned in any other incarnation that I've seen. So if there's a comic that explains that more, I'll be very curious to know. So, yeah, I really liked that, but the origin stuff was kind of confusing, especially since I only experienced Jean from the movies in X-Men 97. Now, speaking of Jean, that rooftop scene between Peter and MJ was a twist that I didn't see coming, because it was a thing that I was thinking while they were swinging to the rooftop. Like, I was going like, wouldn't they be going past where Jean was? Like, because we set up in that helicopter scene where Peter attacks the helicopter. We see it a little bit in the trailer, but when he zips up the helicopter to the crane, he's like, "You're outside your radius now," because he gets his Edith Jarvis Karen chick to basically scan how far she can jump. So they're outside of her radius, and then when they're swinging there, I was like, wouldn't they be swinging Jean? But anyway, I kind of let that go. And, like, people kind of say, like, it would have been, like, they kind of already knew that was Jean because MJ wasn't screaming. But MJ wasn't really screaming when they were swinging from the rooftop to the Punisher. Like, yeah, she was worried that she was slipping, but she wasn't really screaming. And even when Peter and MJ were gone from Punishers back to MJ and Ned's place, that was not really, she wasn't really freaking out. She was more like when they were swinging to the rooftop. So, I think that could have been something I should have picked up on, but I think the thing is that, like, I think that's what made me, like, kind of go like, oh, okay, like, she's kind of calmed down. Like, because the thing is too is that, like, she wasn't screaming, but she did have a face, she was making expressions that was like, she was kind of getting freaked out by it. That's why I was like going like, oh, it's still MJ, it's not anyone else. It's not Jean being MJ. The only thing that got me was that I would have thought that they would be swinging past Jean on their way to the rooftop. But then when that thing happens, and they do the Spider-Man 2002 reference, which I loved, but unfortunately it wasn't upside down. I kind of wish that Spider-Man was upside down, but they do the whole lift up half the mask, and MJ starts kissing him. You're like, oh shoot, what's gonna happen? And then you see that, and then you have that whole bit of like, that's right, Peter, hug her, you deserve it. You're like, oh shit, Jean, you bloody bastard. And then after that, you have the whole thing of basically her going like, of course, the hug and stuff, but then you have her basically throwing herself, or MJ, off the roof. And that was kind of surprising me the first time, because I was like, oh no, we already did this in No Way Home, we already did this with Andrew, he doesn't have this with Andrew, he doesn't have Andrew beside him, like, if she's not alive, I'm gonna be walking out of the theatre. And then when she was, I was like, okay, thank God. Because the thing is that was actually more comic accurate than it was in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And The Amazing Spider-Man 2 did amazingly, but even this was more comic accurate, because, like, the shot of actually seeing Peter fall, MJ fall, going down like that, and then the thwip, and pulling her down, and then catching her and running to the ground stuff, that was just... like, that was a beautiful scene, a shocking scene. It reminded me a lot of that, like, you guys probably, some of you guys might know, so some of you guys may not. I'm a big fan of the Supergirl CW show, right? So, that scene when, I think is it Shriek? The chick that screams? When she, when her and... I think it's Flynn, when he's on the roof with her, and then she falls down and then screams, and then you see the vibrations going down for her to stop. You're like, oh my God. The first time I watched it, I was like, what? Like, those are the type of twists and turns I love in comic book movies and shows. So I just love that. So I love that scene. That scene blew my mind. So... okay, so, and we have heard of Yelena being in this movie. When I sat down the first time I watched it, I kind of forgotten that Yelena was going to be in this movie. I didn't know what what sort of role she was going to play though. So when they do the whole like that scene, it's a funny scene. It's a great scene, especially since she's gone like, "You are small potatoes, which we the New Avengers are big potatoes." Like that. That's funny. But the thing that kind of confused me with that scene was that I was like, we've already done this. Like, we've already done the Peter, you are the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Because we got that with the Tony Stark thing. I was like, this is the second time that he's gotten that, and this is after. It made sense in Homecoming because he hasn't like done anything grand. Like, yeah, he did the thing in Civil War, but that wasn't really that grand. Like, when Tony's like, oh, stay close to the ground, and then he realized that he was wrong. That Tony realized that he was wrong, and then he shows Peter the Iron Spy suit. Peter walks out and is like, no, I want to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Tony gives him back the suit. It's on his bed. And then we have the Hobbit in Infinity War and Endgame where it's like, you can be an Avenger now. Like, you can do the big missions. So the fact that Yelena is teaching Peter that again made me go like, that's a bit far-fetched for me because we've already done this storyline with this Spider-Man in particular. So that was the only thing. But other than that, it was a great scene. I loved it. I thought it was absolutely amazing. Another thing I loved in this movie was how they used the scenes from the Home trilogy as flashbacks for the audience and Peter within the movie itself. It gave the audience a sense of nostalgia that made you even more emotional because you spent 3 movies with Peter and Ned, but 2 movies with Peter and MJ while they're expressing their feelings and while they're together. But a whole trilogy as them together. So that's what made it emotional to me, especially since No Way Home's my favourite movie of all time, and I saw the scene where like they're doing the whole like, you promise you'll go come find me, isn't it? Tom's going like, I'll come find you, I promise. And they do the whole like handshake with Ned and Peter in front of MJ at the Statue of Liberty and stuff. That stuff almost made me emotional because I was like, oh my god. So this is the last thing I want to talk about. Let's talk about that controversial ending. So Peter walks into the coffee shop, and Ned is seen down in the shop, much like Peter was seen down in the coffee shop, and Ned walked in early in the movie. But Peter heads over, and he's like, hi. And then Ned's like, oh, you're Flower Guy from the party, right? And then Peter actually tells him, I'm Peter. And it's like, okay. And then Peter does the handshake from the Home trilogy, and Ned goes, Peter. Then Peter smiles, and then it goes to credits. Now, I actually really like that ending. I don't know why what's so controversial about it. I think that the handshake thing is kind of a trigger for the spell. So like you do the handshake. But also MJ mentioning that Peter is Spider-Man behind the mask to Ned. She did say that in front of Ned. I didn't catch that the first time, but the second time I did catch that. And I do believe the theory that Ned has a stronger muscle memory than MJ, especially since MJ has explained to her that like, oh, I don't remember what I did this morning. Like it's like I was over at my desk and now I'm here. Like I don't know what happened between then. So I think that's a thing that's the thing too. So I honestly think that's like you have that, especially when you have that whole scene where Peter comes back, which was an emotional scene when Peter comes back to Punisher's house and he talks to MJ in the Spider-Man suit and with the mask on. He's like, oh, MJ, we did. It worked. And she's reading the letter. That was an emotional scene. But the point I'm getting to is that she goes up to Peter, and the fact that she's like, I can see why the old me liked you, but that's not me. But I think that set my expectations for Ned, because I was like, okay, she doesn't remember, Ned doesn't remember. So when that happened, I was like almost in tears, because like, not only were they doing the handshake from Homecoming, Far From Home and No Way Home, but also the fact that he was like, Peter. I honestly think that we'll learn more about that sort of stuff in Spider-Man 5. I think that this is going to be the fact that we're doing five or however many more movies with this Spider-Man is crazy, and we couldn't even get that with Tobey and Andrew. But yeah, no, I thought that this movie was great. I think that this movie was really, really good. I think that it's a very, very strong Spider-Man movie. I'm going to do my Spider-Man rankings next, so guys, please hit the like button down below if you haven't already. Hit subscribe, press the little bell icon to get notified of future videos I make. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.